Here we are, video 4 of the shop build. So, video 1, we went over budget. Video 2, we did the pad prep, getting the site ready to build. Video 3, we put a driveway here and we leveled the pad. Again, you guys saw all the videos all the way up until now, and pictures and everything else. And hey, I think we've explained it pretty good to where you guys can do this all by yourself too, just like I did. Video 4 is where we're at today, and that one is a big one, the trench. So, like we talked about before, we know on our pad that we have cleared away where our shop is going to lay. We have the stone around the outside. Like I said, it's 10 feet further out than where the building is, and that is so the excavator will sit flat and we can dig a straight down hole or trench. If the excavator was sitting offset like this, you can imagine you're going to be digging down on this weird angle, which we don't want. So we got everything leveled now. We know that we're really close. I think the most we were off at this point was about a ½ inch in height throughout the whole pad site where the stone is. So to dig a trench, now is when it starts getting critical. So we knew where this front corner was. That's where we went off of for the location on the last setup. Now we're going to start off this back corner back here. We're going to make this corner right here. That's our datum, or our starting point from now until forever. So we measure off the house. We set our scope in this location, we roll it 90 degrees, and we pull the pins for the last 3 remaining corners. You see how to do that in the last video, but again, I have good footage coming up here, so let's throw the video in and get rid of the talking. Okay, so to start, I want this building square off the house. I want it to sit straight with how the house sits to the road. I don't want it off on an angle this way or this way. So we measured from the house, took 90 degrees from the house and came across this way, like that. And if you can see that little red stake somewhere in this area, that's going to be the corner of the building. Now we laid out the building, and obviously we're going to be digging a trench, so those stakes that are in the corner are going to go away. So you can see this stake right here. And then behind my dad, you can see a real tall yellow stake way down at the end. So that's a perfectly straight line from here all the way down that wall like this. So we can run a string from this stake all the way to the other. We have this line. And then as you can see, there's a tall yellow stake there. And then on the other end of the building, way off in the field, there's another one. That way we can't hit them. And when we run a string this way and a string this way, where that intersection is the corner of the building. So that was important to be able to re-pick up the exact spot that we want this building once the trench is in. And we know exactly where every one of the bolts are going to be. So coming in, you can see we have a really tall red stake, and that's just to mark the corner so we don't hit this little one right here. So you can see there's a screw right there in this. So that's the corner of the building. This one here with the red tape just tells you, hey, there's something here, don't hit it. So that's going to be the actual outside corner of the building. And we have an 8-inch wall, foundation wall that's going to come up. So what we did was measure off that 4 inches in, and you can see we have our rebar here. So that's 4 inches off this way, which would be the center of the wall. Now the outside is in the center of this wall. Same thing going this long direction on the long wall. We take the line here, move it in 4 inches. So now we stretch our string out and we paint it. It's kind of dark out here, so I'm just going to assume you can see this painted line. That's going to be the center of the bucket. And the footing in the bottom of this is 24 inches wide. So we went with a 3-foot bucket, 36 inches. So we'll have a little bit of room on each side of that footing to get the forms down in there. Now, based on the corner, 20 feet in, you can see this little blotch of paint right here. So that's going to be where our first big girder is. So since this is a steel building, let me walk back over to this side. So looking down toward the road, the building's 50 feet wide this way, which is the narrow end, and it's really long this way. It's over 80 feet. So what we're gonna do is you have a steel girder that comes up, goes across, comes down, and goes down like this. There's no poles, no beams, nothing in the center of this. It's completely wide open in the middle. So 20 feet in, you're gonna have this girder system that comes over and down. Another 20 feet, you're gonna have another one. Another 20 feet, you're gonna have another one. So that's what we're doing now. What we're going to do is do this same exact thing. We measured from the corner of the building in 20 feet, that little paint blotch I just showed you. And we're going to put a pin or a piece of rebar in. Let's see, it's right there. So we're gonna put a piece of rebar there. That's the center of that girder. And we're gonna string all the way across to the center of that girder. Then we measure off of our string, paint that line. Measure off of the string, paint that line. Where these girders meet down, it's a 4-foot hole that goes down the 52 inches that our wall is. So we need one there, we need one there, we need one there, we need one down at the end. So we're gonna mark those out right now so we can spray paint them, and I'll bring you back when we're done that. All right, guys, so we're back. You just saw how we lay out the 4 corners. You saw that we put a stake way out here. We have one way out here. We have one way out here, and we have one way out here. Those stakes, like I explained in the video, are so that we can pull a string line like this, and where those string lines intersect is the corner of the building. In my picture, it kind of sucks, but yes, it will be the corner of the building. So once we dig that trench, because where our stakes are for the 4 corners are now not going to be existent, make sure that when you put these stakes, they're far enough away that when a dump truck comes in, a cement truck, workers, you cut the grass, whatever, you don't hit them, because as soon as these stakes move, the building is actually going to move. So that's set up. Up until this point, what have we subbed out or hired out? We hired out bringing in the clay because I don't have a dump truck. The bulldozing was part of that deal that I managed to do, so that's included in that, I would say. We brought in all the stone, exact same thing. I rolled it, we leveled it, I rented it. I had a buddy come over for a couple cases of beer and run the machine. And now today, same thing. I can run an excavator. It's not that I can't, but it's what he does for a living. So he's gonna be way faster than I am. And probably he'll be a little more smooth, if you will. So it's better, again, hire the same guy that did the leveling for us, a couple cases of beer, let's get it done, move on to the next part of our day. Now, if you remember back in video 2, we talked about, I wish I would not have stripped that site until we were ready to do the work. So again, this was a really big pain in the butt with weather coming in. You know, you need a good amount of time. Once you dig this hole, that hole is going to be roughly 4 feet deep. You can imagine when water starts getting in the bottom, it's going to make that bottom all sloppy, like we talked about up here in video 2, and you're not going to be able to do anything until it dries. So you want to make sure, one, that the concrete, whoever it is, if you're subbing it out like I did, I hired the foundation, the footings, the foundation, and the floor all out to the same company. You may ask, well, why did you do that? Well, I did it for one big reason. I didn't want the foundation to fail, and the flooring guy, blame him for God knows what reason. I didn't want the floor to fail and then blame the foundation guy for whatever reason. I wanted to go to one source, one company, hire the job. Now, if I have any problems with anything to do with concrete, I have one contact. It was one check that was paid out, and we're done. So for me, it was kind of like an insurance policy. I know exactly who to go see. So we need to make sure that that concrete supplier, one, has the capacity to do your job at that point in time, and two, Mother Nature is going to cooperate. For us, it was roughly, I want to say it was about 5 weeks, might be 6 weeks, since we had the pad set up, these stakes in place, and we were just waiting for the perfect opportunity to dig. It came, as you see in the videos, and now we're ready to go. So we start here, we started digging in this direction, and you'll see we make one pile out here and one pile in here. Why did we do that? So the interior pile is clear stone. As you remember, we did 12 inches of stone, the large stone, and then 6 to 8 inches of the small stone. So we had a good amount of stone to get through before we got down to the clay, which we're going to be digging in. We want to separate that. Still good stone. We don't want to throw it away. So all the stone went on the inside of the site, all the clay and mix of whatever, you know, once you start chipping out a little bit, that all went on the outside here. So we started here at our datum, our starting point, our main corner. We came all the way back, we went all the way back up here, came back here, came all the way down, and then back down this last surface, or this last face here. Again, you want to make sure that the trench is straight, so he needs to be in a straight line. For us, what we did was we talked to our operator, and he wanted a straight line in the center of his bucket. Me personally, if I was to do it, let's draw a diagram here. If that's the trench that I need dug, I would have put a line right here. So I know that the side of my bucket hits that line all the way down this whole entire length. For him, he wanted it in the center. Again, me not doing it every day, I don't know if I'm an inch this way, 2 inches this way, or whatever. So that would have made it easier, but talk to the people doing your work and they'll set it up however they feel they need. A lot of people will call a survey company and have this job subbed out. Again, it was one of those things, I'm trying to skimp anywhere that I can, or anything that I can do, so that the shop goes up and I'm not too far over budget, or I didn't have to shrink the shop to stay within the budget that we agreed on. In video one, for argument's sake, it was $100,000. So, you know, even if this was $1,500 or $2,000, that's just more money coming out of that original budget. So we set this up, we dig the trench, and we scope the whole thing. Why do we scope it? For me, here, this is a side view of your trench, okay? This is looking in from the side here on this long wall. You need the bottom of this trench to be perfectly flat, or damn close. If the bottom of this trench does this, you can imagine when you put a form in here to pour that footing, and let's draw up here. This is what your foundation is going to look like. You have a footing here, and this is your wall. Okay? So this footing is much larger, and that sits down on the bottom of your trench. If you form that and the bottom of your trench goes up and down, you're going to use a lot more concrete here and not enough there. So you can't have it. The bottom of this trench has to be flat. And now again, because I don't do it every day, I probably would have been checking every 2-3 feet, right? Stick your scope down to the bottom, check that height. If it's good, move on. Because he's a really good operator, as you can see, all we did was check every swipe. So he would swipe it, he would do his whole reach, pull it. Yeah, we're pretty close. We'd hit it. You know, usually he was within, I think the most he was off was about an inch by eye, which is absolutely incredible to me. So this whole entire bottom of the trench all the way around this building, I think the furthest point we were out was about 3/8 of an inch, which is absolutely incredible. Now, you have a trench dug. How deep do you dig that trench? Well, if you remember, we went up 36 inches with clay. We went up 12 inches with 0 to 2, and we went up 6 to 8. We're going to go with 6 inches here, just for argument's sake. 0 to 7/8. So 36 and 12 is 48. This is 54. So we know to get down to the virgin ground where we needed to be, we got to go down 54 inches. Now, that may or may not sound like a lot to you. 54 inches is, I don't know, probably about here on me. It's a hell of a way down. But do you have to go that deep or not? Well, again, if you look at the side of the trench, there's a clear line, which even to the untrained eye, I had no idea about any of this. My father told me when we were already there. There's a clear line in the clay that you will be able to see no matter what you do, where you can see the clay that was added and you can see the clay that was virgin. And you need to be in that virgin ground or else they will not give you a building permit to go further. For us, we were allowed to dig the trench, put the forms in the trench, and put the rebar in, which you can see now. And what happens was the forms go in, the rebar goes in, so they're ready to pour concrete. The inspector comes out and inspects that, yes, you did hit virgin ground. Yes, the forms are the correct width and height that are required. Yes, there's enough rebar in there. And then, yes, you're able to proceed. He signs the permit and you're on your way. So for us, we dug the trench on Sunday. Monday morning, they were here to form it. They were here, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours. They formed the entire site, which we'll go over right now. And then the inspector came 25 minutes after they left, checked it, said, yep, you're good to go. 20 minutes after that, cement trucks were here. So it all happens really quick once you get that ball rolling. But again, the important thing is your trench is deep enough to hit that virgin ground and it's straight and the building is in the location that you need. You're not able to move it once that trench is down. Now, one last thing to consider, something I never considered. When we were talking about the shop being lower than the house, the shop is 1 foot lower than the house is, so the water was going to go this way. Why don't you just bring it up to the same height? Why don't you bring it up higher, right? Problem is, the higher you go with all that clay 0 to 2 and 0 to 7/8, the bigger this number gets. This 54 is going to get bigger. Let's say it was 74. So now, if you need to get down to virgin clay, you need to run 74 inches from the footing to the top of the wall to put your building on. What is that wall made of? Concrete and rebar. Well, an extra 20 inches of concrete and rebar all the way around this building is catastrophically more money. So we ended up trying to split the difference and saying, well, if we go up 3 feet, that's awesome. That's better than what we had. We'll be able to taper this off this way into the farmer's fields so that all the water fades into those and away from the building. But yes, we are going to get some over here. We'll go through later on how we solve that issue. But the budget wouldn't allow for us to go any deeper and cause any more concrete to go in the hole. So, like I said, I guess it's a long way around to tell you how to dig the trench, but now you can see we dug the trench, we formed it, concrete trucks are coming in, and we're ready to start doing the wall forming. So the top of this footing, they trowel flat, and then there's some rebar that sticks up like this, and then we start forming the wall, and we pour that. The wall is going to be episode number 5, so make sure you come back for that. That's all you got for episode number 4. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a good one. So they're coming today to do the forming. I just wanted to take a real quick look. You can see some water down in the trench there. So that water has to come out before you can pour concrete on the top. It's a little more than we would like, but we're here now. So we'll have to shovel out the slop on the top, and then, you know, if the water keeps coming in, we'll have to pump it. But see if we can get the footings in today and get our inspection.